I want the world to have a new view of itself. If you want to go back a little farther, I'm a nuclear guy. Nuclear weapons scare the hell out of me because I know something about them. And the best hope I see for a decent future for this planet is an Earthling orientation, as opposed to the nationalistic labels we all have. You know, Cuban, Filipino, Peruvian, whatever.
One world, unified Earth. We're all.
I mean, from an alien viewpoint, we are all Earthlings.
That's right. They wouldn't
like it or not. So if I can do anything to get people to think in different ways about how we interact with each other, then I've got a responsibility to my grandson and my great-grandson to have the world be as good a place as I can help make it. I don't say that as a politician, I'm not, and I'm not running for office anymore. But if I can influence the world to think in a fresh way, like we're not the big shots we'd like to think we are. I was astonished when the Pope, 2 years ago now, I guess, said something about, oh, well, if God made us, there's no reason he can't make our brethren in outer space. My first reaction was, what does he know about is he trying to get the world's billion Catholics to get ready for an announcement? I was just at a strangest conference I've ever been to, and I've done over 700 lectures, so I've had a little experience.
Yes, sir.
Just got back last week from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
Oh.
It was a hell of a long ways away, believe me, from where I live. And the title of the conference was Global Competitiveness Forum. And they had world leaders in every field imaginable. They had panel discussions on education, on medical care, on investment, on risk-taking. And Bill Clinton was a keynote speaker. Tony Blair was there. Jean Chrétien of Canada was there. And they had a panel, Contact, What We Can Learn from Outer Space. There were 5 of us, ufologists, if you will. We had a 75-minute panel. First time they've ever, and my first thought when I was asked was, what do these guys know? You know, the impact on the planet.
I would feel that these world leaders would have privy to inside information that you and I, even yourself, aren't privy
I
to.
don't have a clearance these days.
Another thing I would ask, are there any governments in the world that have acknowledged the UFO presence and also the USO present, the unidentified submersible object?
There's been a push around the world. Argentina, Chile, Peru, Brazil, France, Denmark, England have all released a lot of material. Now, that doesn't mean they've released all the top secret material, but they've made available, because freedom of information is a new thing in many of these countries.
Yes, sir.
They've released a lot of information that wasn't previously accessible in England and in other places. Now, I don't think they've released everything, but enough to say they're taking the matter seriously. And there's a new book by Leslie Kean, K-E-A-N, some people say Kane, which is just came out this past year, where she talks about pilots and scientists all talking about their experiences. Got generals from several different countries talking about chasing UFOs. That wonderful Iranian jet case, where we scrambled a couple jets after a UFO. People called the military base and they saw the thing over there, so they scrambled a couple jets, took off after it, and it sent something back. Scared the hell out of the pilots chasing him.
Yeah.
And where that report of that case, these were F-4 airplanes, American planes, flown by Iranian pilots.
Yeah. This was in the 70s?
70s, yes.
Okay.
And the point is that copies of that report went all over Washington. It was classified, but declassified now. But it's clear that people were taking this very seriously. And Leslie's book has a statement from one of the guys who was one of the pilots.
Right.
And so these are gutsy people. I mean, they're more advanced now than they were before on the totem pole, you know. So her book has stirred up a lot of interest because it's not her telling somebody's story, it's them telling their own story.
Yes, sir.
generals, colonels, whatever.
Very credible people.
Oh, extremely.
Even when I view you and I first heard you for the first time, perhaps on Coast to Coast with Art Bell, and
That goes back a while.
oh yeah, I listened to that. I lived out in Los Angeles and even in Las Vegas at certain times when Art Bell was just coming out, and of course George Norhay today that you've interviewed with. Your credibility would seem to be beyond question. Your view of reality. Could anybody be a better understander and witness to the reality around us than yourself? And you surely believe that the UFOs do exist.
Yeah, I start most lectures. I didn't tonight, but with 4 statements. 1, the evidence is overwhelming the planet's being visited by extraterrestrial spacecraft. In other words, some UFOs are alien spacecraft. 2, we're dealing with a cosmic Watergate. That means some few people within governments know. Not everybody. That's not how you keep secrets. 3, there are no good arguments against the first 2 conclusions. And 4, we're dealing with the biggest story of the millennium. So I don't leave much room.
It is. It's a major proportion.
I was the only guy in Riyadh
Yes, sir.
who said unquestionably Earth is being visited and there's a cosmic Watergate. The other guys were shilly-shally.
They wouldn't really stake their claim to that. They really wouldn't go out on a limb.
I got good response from people. I was there for the next 2 days, and people came up to me. They were surprised that there was a session. These are big shots. I mean, we're talking at lunch. Guy runs a second in command of a big investment firm. Medium size, he says. I said, how much money you guys control? 150 billion.
Yeah, that's serious.
That's serious. These are guys who have serious responsibility.
Yes, sir. And I would hope that they would give us some kind of innovation in the 21st century so that we could leave a better civilization for our children and grandchildren, right? And use some of that money for that.
What struck me, I've never been to Saudi Arabia before. I have been to Israel, but when I had an earlier passport, otherwise I couldn't have gotten in.
Yes.
They didn't care that I was Jewish. I asked about that. Well, I don't want to get there and somebody say, you can't come in. And there's a place on the visa application for religion.
Right.
But what happened in Egypt, the contrast. Here's Saudi Arabia, which everybody thinks, oh, they got a lot of oil. What are they doing with a competitiveness forum? That's ridiculous. Saudi Arabia is educating its people, including its women. That's a switch. They're spending a quarter of their budget on education. They're doing their darndest to attract outside capital, investment, teach people about risks in small businesses and so forth. Because they recognize that the rest of the Arab world is too many people and not enough jobs, not enough food, not enough opportunity. Their birth rate's very high in the Middle East. And what you see happening in Egypt, in Yemen, in Jordan, in Tunisia, they're getting poorer.
Most of those people have little opportunity to prosper in any way.
So I was very pleased to see what Saudi Arabia is doing. I mean, it's not that. I mean, I'm Jewish, but I was at home with a number of the Arabs who were there. We're cousins. Arabs are Semites too. People forget that.
Yes.
But and people were asking, well, why would they have such a forum? This is the 5th one, you understand. And I told them, I think they see a recognition that they won't always have oil, that it's not going to employ enough of their people, that they need to do something to get into the modern world. And Egypt certainly hasn't done that.
No, it's true that we as humans have to adapt upon this planet and learn new ways to inhabit the planet and to exist upon it, right? We kind of constantly have to update. One other point, when we're trying to understand these non-human sentient beings, I don't know whether they're extraterrestrial or here upon the planet. I have a suspicion that some do exist upon this planet outside of our sight or out of our mind. Do you believe that they are sinister or benevolent?
It's supposed to mean left-handed, isn't it? Sinister.
Yeah.
Sorry. I think they're here for their purposes. My basic conclusion is that every civilization is concerned about its own survival and security. If you're not, you don't survive. Okay, that means you got to keep tabs on the primitives in the neighborhood, but only close tabs on those primitives who show signs of being able to bother you. At the end of World War II, there were 3 signs that soon these idiot Earthlings, who had just killed 50 million of their own kind during World War II, destroyed 1,700 cities. That's a qualification for idiocy as far as I'm concerned. That soon we'd be moving out. There were 3 signs, soon meaning 100 years, which is nothing on a cosmic timescale. The 3 signs were nuclear weapons, powerful rockets, V-2s, which were not being used to deliver the mail, they were being used to kill, and powerful radar, the beginning of the electronics age. Before World War II in Europe, there was no radar.
That's correct.
And so, isn't it amazing that the only place in the world in July 1947 where you could study all 3 was in southeastern New Mexico? That's where Roswell is. First nuclear weapon tested at Trinity Site, White Sands Missile Range. I've been there. It's only open 2 days a year. That's where we're firing to capture German V-2s. We're supposed to share with England, but we didn't. We grabbed them all. And that's where we had our best radar to track the rockets, because sometimes they went that way instead of that way. They didn't have warheads on them, but the Mexicans weren't happy. And I admit, I had an English astronomer on television in England. We were on a panel. He says, well, they could have gone to the Soviet Union. I said, no, they didn't test their first A-bomb until August 1949. Sorry.
So it appears that the aliens, the unknown intelligent beings, were most alarmed when we started setting off those nuclear devices.
I think so, because it's not just the nuclear, it's the fact that this is a symbol of us being able to control enough energy to get us out there. The first H-bomb in 1952, had a 3-mile-wide fireball. If you've got fusion that you can control, you're going to be able to get out there. It's going to cost money. It's not going to be cheap.
Bikini Atoll.
Yeah, some of the tests were done. Operation Mike, the shot was called Mike. It got rid of most of the island. But, so what I'm saying is, I assume that they're concerned about their survival. I assume they don't want to be surprised by idiots showing up with nuclear weapons. We went through a Pearl Harbor. We learned that you better be vigilant. Look how much money we spend now, we Earthlings, on making sure nobody surprises us. And a good example, and it's in this book.
Science was wrong. It's in this book.
Yeah.